Mr. David Abdullah, political leader of the MSJ, Pastor Dotin, Ms. John Logan, distinguished members of the head table, ladies and gentlemen. I bid you all a very pleasant good morning. Now, please buckle up because I intend to step on some toes this morning. Come January 17th this year, the murder count stood at 30. 30. Today, it's 38. Why is it that we had 30 murders the first 17 days of January, only 8 murders after? Something happened. When we understand what happened and why it didn't happen before, we'll probably understand a little bit about why the lovely solutions that were presented, and they were excellent ideas and solutions, and I'm sure we're going to get excellent ideas and solutions from the rest of the panel, because I know some of those individuals. It's going to be fantastic. But perhaps you can understand why. So what happened round about the middle of January? There was an arrest of a particular gentleman named Calvin Lee. Anybody ever heard of this guy? Mr. Lee, aka Tyson, according to reports. DJ Sheriff is my source. Don't know how you guys feel about that, but according to my source, well-known gang leader. Okay, this is a gentleman who was in charge of 6, probably the most violent gang in the country, who's been at war with 7, leading to probably 1,200 murders over the last 2 years. Yet come middle of January this year, he was picked up. Police went in, picked him up, charged him with being a gang leader. Oh, murder rate plummets like a stone. This is crime in Trinidad and Tobago. This is how we solve crime in Trinidad and Tobago. Just go arrest the gang leader and the murder rate goes down. So what we need to understand here is that that is a temporary situation. A couple of questions. Number one, it shows you the power that the gangs have. Right? You arrest one gang leader and the murder rate plummets like a stone. The power they have, number one. Number two, it raises the question, why hasn't it been done before? This war has been going on for 2 years. Why hasn't it done before? Trinidad and Tobago has crime factories that are set up, installed, and they sit on some of our communities, some vibrant, beautiful, creative communities that have been saddled with this crime factory that sits on top of it. The crime factory has inputs and outputs. Input is money, inputs is people. The process that they use is violence, the outputs are profits and power for their shareholders. It's crime factories. They're built on the destitution of the communities. As was so beautifully laid out, there's no opportunity, there's lack of social intervention. The social services has been changed from social intervention to providing grants. You heard it there, right? What's going on? If we know how to dismantle these crime factories, we know how to do it. We could provide after-school care for kids. We could provide support for single moms. We need to encourage businesses to provide money to the communities. We need to encourage sporting. We need to encourage recreation. We need to encourage religious activities. We need to get these communities on their feet. We need to love our communities, care for and nurture our communities. Why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we doing it? So let me provide for you a theoretical framework, or rather a conjecture. Let me use a fictitious country called Shakonia and say, well, this fictitious country called Shakonia has 2 political parties, Party A and Party B. Party A in Shakonia recognizes that, hey, I could use these guys, if I give them money, they could vote for me. Not only if I give them money, they could vote for me, but they could organize and mobilize the voters on election day. I'm the project chairman of Project 600, and let me tell you something. I know how hard it is to mobilize people. It is hard. So I could use these guys to mobilize people to come out from me on election day. Sound familiar? I mean, guys, who come from these communities? Sounding familiar? I could use these guys to mobilize votes. And if these people are kept in a state of, I won't use the dependence. Man, if you keep these people down, they will exchange their finger, the most important thing they have, for anything. A t-shirt and a box of KFC. $200, that's. So Party A recognizes that it's in their interest to keep this thing running. Now Party B, see, crime goes out of hand when Party A is in power, and Party B recognizes, well, that's how I could get into power. Because the crime goes up, people get vexed and you vote. So what they do when they come into power now is, well, you can't kill the goose, you see, because it'll stop laying the golden egg. So you take the police boots approach. What is the police boots approach? You mash them down with the police boots, but you don't at all solve the root cause in the community. Why? Because in 5 years, you're going to have to fight to get back into power. Guys, this is Shakonia, fictitious country, Party A and Party B, okay? It has nothing to do with Trinidad, absolutely. Nothing to do with Trinidad. This is a theoretical framework, right? So under this theoretical framework, you have one party that benefits from the crime factory, and you have another party that figures out how to benefit from the same crime factory. So under this theoretical framework, Party A, Party B, neither has any interest in really dealing with it because they both benefit. Remember, a political party, its purpose is not to govern you well. The purpose of a political party is to attain power when it's not in power. And when in power, it's to stay in power. That's their purpose. That's the lens through which they see everything. So Party A and Party B have come to the conclusion that something like the crime factory needs to exist. How, I mean, they say it's a regional problem. Well, hear what, in Jamaica, the parties are aligned with criminal gangs. The political parties are aligned with criminal gangs. Right? So there's no will to deal with it. And in a country in the region where there was will to deal with it, you all ever heard of El Salvador? So El Salvador is one of probably the most murderous countries on earth, right? 11 million people, small country, Latin America, murder rate through the roof, murder rate through the roof. And what happened? Somebody came into power who actually wanted to deal with it. And their murder rate went from being #1 in the world to 0. In what, 2 years? Look up Nayib Bukele if anybody don't know what I'm talking about. The murder rate went from here to there, 2 years. Why? Because somebody wanted to deal with it. Let me give you an example in Trinidad. Enterprise. David, you were there at African Grounds. Yeah, David was there at African Grounds. There's a community center sitting right on African Grounds that has been under construction for 15 years. We went to do crime talks in African Grounds. We have nice panel, everybody talking. What everybody on the ground was saying, where is our community center? Why is it not open? 15 years, by the way, folks, spans 2 administrations, for those who counted. Not 1 administration, 2 administrations. 15 years it's been sitting there. Nobody wants the community center to be opened. You know, the kids would play football in African Grounds anyway, community center or not. You know what happened? Jamal Modest, 9 years old. The gangs came in, sprayed bullets, killed a 9-year-old boy playing football on the ground. Football stop. Right? The crime factory. You see, the crime factory dominates the community. It provides employment, it provides opportunities, it provides social services, it provides everything because there's nothing in the community. Food, shelter, transport, security. So Here's my thing. Where are we going with this? My theoretical framework says that the solutions are very well known. We know what they are, and we're going to have lots presented here today. But the political system that we have, it's not in their interest to implement any of these solutions, and that's why we're stuck in this circle. And who is it that is responsible for putting pressure on the political organizations to make change? That, ladies and gentlemen, is you and me. We are the ones through our pressure and activism and public campaigns that could insist and direct the political class to do what needs to be done, deploy the services into the communities and protect our communities. I have evidence for that. And the evidence for that is the answer to the question, why now? Why was it in the middle of January that Tyson was arrested? The answer to that question is because the pressure from the public had been mounting. After 2 years with successive 600 murder rates, we had Alan Ferguson doing crime talks all over the country. We had David Abdullah starting People's Roundtable discussing crime. We had the UNC starting to do crime talks. It started becoming a thing. You had me, I'm gonna bat for myself here. Marching in the Queen's Park Savannah, rallying people, non-political citizens standing up to send a message. It had gotten out of hand. So the message went down from the top. Arrest Tyson. Get the crime rate down. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my theoretical framework. The Nobel Peace Prize winner and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel once said that the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. Indifference. Indifference is a sort of an active neglect, when you don't care. At least when you hate somebody, you recognize them. But indifference means you don't even recognize their existence. And what I am saying is, if we are to treat our communities with indifference, we are burdening them to a fate worse than hatred. And I am saying that we, as the citizens of this country, need to stand with our communities. We need to stand against the interests of the politicians. Let's not subject our vibrant, beautiful, creative communities to a fate worse than hatred. Let us instead choose love. Thank you very much.